Welcome into another edition of Curd and Long. See Sparky, Fifer, along with Ryan Horvat of BetMGM tonight. You can follow him on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Of course, Ryan is weeknights with Trista Crick and Nick Ashu on your BetQL radio networks around the country, or stream them on the Odyssey app. You can check me out, Wisconsin Sports Daily, weekday afternoons from 2 till 5 on 1250 AM The Fan. You can stream us as well if you're not in the Milwaukee area on your Odyssey app there too. Okay, so Ryan Horvat, Jordan Love. There was a podcast done by Ty Dunn, the Go Long TD website. And I had Ty Dunn on the show on Friday when he released the podcast. It was like an hour long. And they were kind of having the discussion of kind of what's next for Jordan Love. Ty Dunn is all pro Jordan Love and on the Jordan Love hype train. His co-host maybe not as much. And his co-host was kind of along the lines of, look, when these defenses make their adjustments, when these defenses start to see him for a second and third time, we'll then see just how good Jordan Love is at the end of the day. That maybe the hype train is a little bit too early for Jordan Love at this moment in time. But my counter to that is the Lions saw him the first time, they whooped him. Jordan Love saw them the second time, and he whooped them. Same thing with the Bears and everybody else. I mean, it's seemingly whenever he sees somebody a second time, Kansas City Chiefs, there's another one. You know, he faced Spagnola's defense the first time a couple of years ago. He didn't know what was going on and got beat up pretty good. Couldn't disguise the zero, or couldn't beat the zero blitz. They saw Kansas City last year. He took care of business against Spagnola. To me, it's the exact opposite. I feel like as Jordan Love sees you a second time, he hasn't seen anybody a third time, I don't think. But as he sees you a second time and gets an idea of what your defense is trying to do against him, he carves you up. I don't worry as much about that. And you think of all the different defenses and schemes he saw last year. Yes, I know there's still more that he hasn't seen, but there's not a ton more I don't think that he hasn't seen.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. And I mean, especially if you go back and you watch that second time that they faced Detroit, like Detroit had no answers. They couldn't play man. Now I know they've upgraded their secondary a little bit, but yeah, I'd have to disagree with, I mean, of course, like as defenses are able to pick up more film, they're going to make adjustments. Sure, things could get a little bit tougher, but no, man, like Jordan Love proved everything he needed to prove for me last year. He was a top 10 quarterback in total passing yards, top 5 quarterback in big time throws, a top 2 quarterback in passing touchdowns during the regular season. He won a playoff game, probably should have won another one. I know he had a couple bad interceptions in that game, but yeah, like if you look at the second half of the season, we go week 8 on, his passing grade 90.4. He had 27 big time throws and he only had 10 turnover worthy plays. So if anything, he actually got better the second time that he saw these defenses. He struggled with, consistent ball placement the first half of the season, his accuracy, but the second half of the year, like we talked about, he was hitting the middle stuff, the intermediate stuff. It wasn't just the deep stuff. We know he could hit the deep ball, but I think he only gets better, to be honest with you. Because that's what he did the second half of the season. Sometimes it is the opposite way. If a guy starts out on fire, but that's not how Jordan Love started his career. There were some bad losses too, as we know. They lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Broncos. There were some awful interceptions. So I think if anything, he only gets better. I don't worry about regression really with Jordan Love, unless there's just a bunch of injuries on the offensive line and at the wide receiver position. He's also got a bunch of confidence right now. So I would be on Ty's side on that one. I'm all pro Jordan Love these days.
Matt Ryan, the former NFL quarterback, Falcons, Colts, and whoever else he played for, was in town in Madison for the AmFam Championship over the weekend. That saw Ernie Els beat Steve Stricker. But Matt Ryan was in for the celebrity portion of it, I guess. And he talked about Jordan Love. And he had Jordan Love last year for a game in the Packers. He said the Packers wide receivers jumped off the tape at you. When you're watching tape getting ready for the Packers, just how fast they are, their movements, so forth, kind of jumped off the tape. He said Jordan Love, sky's the limit kind of, but has to work on consistency things, cleaning up the little things at the end of the day. As you pointed out with his numbers, 7th in yards passing, 4,159, 32 touchdowns, 2nd in the NFL. Interceptions, 11. That was 104th. That's pretty good. And 62.1 QBR rating, which is 9th. That is that ESPN stat at the end of the day. Is it fair to expect him to be top 5 in passing yards, top 5 in touchdowns this year, Ryan, going into this season?
Yeah, I think so, man. And I think a lot of that has to do with especially the touchdowns, because like you said, with the Green Bay wide receivers, it's not even clear who's going to emerge as the number one guy because we like all these guys. We like Dobbs, we like Wicks. If Watson stays healthy, he's a nightmare matchup. And again, like you go to the second half of the season, I brought up week 8, but like as far as the deep ball, like week 10 on, Jordan Love led the league in deep attempts, 52, and EPA. Oof. He was second in positive EPA rate. He had 10 touchdowns, 20 big-time throws on deep passes, which was first in the league. And then he had a 121 passer rating, which was fourth on those passes, 15 or more yards down the field. And now imagine if Christian Watson's actually out there and he's healthy because he runs one route and Jordan Love's going to be able to hit him deep.
At the beginning of the year, he was getting killed for not being able to throw the deep ball.
Yeah. So I just think like yards and touchdowns, Jordan Love could legitimately lead the league. Now there's so many dang good quarterbacks though. If Joe Burrow's actually healthy and T. Higgins sticks around, and it's kind of like Super Bowl or bust from them, I think Jordan Love's definitely top 5. I think his ceiling is top 1, like MVP of the league. That's why I placed that bet because, they got a bunch of young wide receivers and they all run different route trees and you never really know who's going to be out there. That's the other thing that's so scary about the Packers. I mean, you got Bo Melton who could step out on the field and make some plays. Like we have no idea until we see camp, till we see preseason. Also, now you have a new running game because Aaron Jones is gone. Josh Jacobs is there. You have a rookie running back who could kind of do everything except for pass protect. You still have A.J. Dillon, we think. There's just so many different weapons that this is where really like this should be the year where Matt LaFleur wins Coach of the Year. And the Packers win 13 games, especially if the defense isn't a complete bust, just because you don't really know what they could do because all these guys are so different. You could really get creative with your play calls here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I agree with that. And you'd even bring up the tight ends with Musgrave and Kraft and what they could do with their tight ends too. What about this perspective? When Aaron Rodgers first started, he kind of got hammered on by me and others about not being able to close out games. And then the defense was, well, their defense stinks. He's scoring, but they're not being able to hold him at end of games. Does Jordan Love have any type of thing on him right now where he can't win a close game or he can't make the big throws in big situations after this last year? Is there any of that hanging over him, or did he prove himself last year that in big moments he can still make those big throws? Obviously, I know we all point to the interception, the throwing across his body against San Francisco. I know that. Everybody brings that one up whenever they want to hammer on Love. But outside of that, are there other situations that we can think of last year where that was an issue?
No, not really. I mean, it's really early to tell, right? Like we got to get back to the playoffs a couple times, see if you could get over the hump, see if you could get to the Super Bowl, see if you could actually win the big game. But no, like that was the stuff that I worried about when Jordan Love was coming into the league. Would he like take the sack or take the throw away? You can't throw across your body. You can't throw off your back foot. I know that he wants to make a play. Everybody wants to make a play. But in a game like that, sometimes you just obviously got to eat it, right? And then you probably win that game. You got picked off twice by Dre Greenlaw, both across the middle. But no, like, again, like that's why I keep bringing up like week 8 and week 10 on, because that's what I worried about, man. I thought like when Jordan Love came into the league, I was like, all right, he's got a rocket for an arm, but he might be inconsistent. He might throw a ton of picks. And then the first 9 weeks of the season, his completion rate on those deep throws, 31%. His turnover-worthy play rate was 13%. I was like, oh, my God, this is the dude that we saw at Utah State. And then the second half became a different guy. So I don't want to fault him too much on the San Francisco game because we got to remember also that was his second playoff game, and he was lights out in that first playoff game against Dallas on the road. The thing about Dallas, though, is that defense was top 10 all season, but then the second half, really after they lost Diggs, the secondary was so bad. Yep. So it was a nice playoff win, but maybe we just overrated Dallas, or maybe they were paper tigers. But no, I don't think that there's really that knock on Jordan Love. If they go to the playoffs again next year, lose to the Niners or lose to the Lions, and he throws 2 bad interceptions, I think then he becomes like modern day Brett Favre, though, throwing bad picks, stuff like that. Can he win the big game? But not right now. That was a hell of a, we'll call it his rookie year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, do you like Jordan Love? And you have all the numbers, I'm sure, in front of you. Do you like Jordan Love more in the pocket, or do you like Jordan Love more rolling out to his right or rolling out to his left, broken plays, being able to make something happen? Because I believe I read earlier in the offseason that's something that Jordan Love was kind of working on, was that throwing on the run and getting outside the pocket and throwing that football a little bit better than maybe he did this last year. I can't tell you I've looked up the numbers to see if he's better in the pocket than outside of the pocket. I tend to like him a lot in the pocket. I think he does just fine feeling his way around the pocket. I know Matt LaFleur has talked about him not making as big of moves inside of the pocket, kind of making smaller steps inside the pocket. Within games when things are breaking down around him, not having to make such big moves. Your thoughts on Love?
Yeah, I mean, like when he's got a clean pocket to throw from, he's one of the top-rated quarterbacks, you know? So I'm with you. I mean, I want him throwing from a clean pocket. And that's when I start to worry a little bit. I mean, he can make the throws on the run. I want to see him use his legs a little bit more. I want to see like Jordan Love, the athlete.
I agree.
Some option kind of stuff, maybe.
Yep.
But also you don't want him getting hurt. You know, you don't want an Anthony Richardson situation. He's going to have to slide and get out of bounds, but not terrible on the run or when he gets outside of the pocket, but that is when the mistakes usually come. But he got better again, like second half of the season. That's why the numbers are a little skewed because first half of the season, those first 8 weeks, the numbers were so bad. I mean, he was a bottom 10 quarterback, bottom 12 quarterback in the league. Then things got a little bit better on the broken plays and whatnot, but that is usually when he's hunting the big play. So I prefer him in the pocket for sure.
He is Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight. See Sparky Fifer, Wisconsin Sports Daily on 1250 a.m. The Fan, weekday afternoons 2 to 5. You can listen to either one of our shows at night or in the afternoon on your Odyssey app. We'll take a quick time out, come back. There was a story last week projecting CeeDee Lamb. And they projected 5 deals that there's no way the Cowboys could turn down for CeeDee Lamb if they don't want to give him an extension and they want to trade him instead. One of those was the Green Bay Packers. We'll talk about that next here on Curd and Long. Welcome back, Curd and Long, here on your Odyssey app, wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Also, can check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Check out my afternoon show, Wisconsin Sports Daily, 2 to 5 in the afternoons Central Time on 1250 a.m. The Fan. Also, can listen on your Odyssey app. He is Ryan Horvat over there. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Horvat, co-host of BetMGM Tonight with Trista Crick and Nick Ashu on the BetQL Radio Network. And again, on your Odyssey app as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Sparky Radio. All right, Ryan Horvat. There was a trade story out on CeeDee Lamb. I'm not sure if the guy was a Cowboys fan from Bleacher Report or what the guy's affiliation was, one way or the other. But he put down, several deals that he thought the Cowboys couldn't turn down. One of which was the Green Bay Packers. Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs, one of those two, to go along with Jayden Reed and a second-round pick for CeeDee Lamb. Now, again, from the Packers standpoint, that also means you're going to have to pay him, and you still have to pay Jordan Love at this point, as that deal is not done. It appears they hope to get it done before training camp, but we'll have to wait and see. Minicamp is this week, Tuesday through Thursday. So I'm assuming Jordan Love will be at minicamp this week, even though he does not have his contract extension done. But we'll get to see more Packer football this week during minicamp. All right, Ryan Horvat, do you do that deal? Watson or Doubs plus Jayden Reed and a second-round pick for CeeDee Lamb, knowing you have to extend him?
I love CeeDee Lamb. I think he's really, really awesome. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league. I know a lot of people thought maybe he was just like a slot wide receiver. He couldn't just primarily play on the outside, but he could out-leap anybody. I've loved him since college. I think he's awesome. I would want CeeDee Lamb in Green Bay if it were through free agency, if it were for just the second-round pick, and even that's a lot to give up for a wide receiver, in my opinion, especially the way that Green Bay hits on these wide receivers. Now you're also asking me to give up potentially wide receiver 1 and 2 for one receiver and a second-round pick. I would have to say, no, that's too much. I like CeeDee Lamb. And then you said it, man. Then you have to pay CeeDee Lamb. You have to pay him top wide receiver dollar. I would have rather just paid Devontae Adams top wide receiver dollar a couple years ago and had him coming back, even though he's in his 30s. So I wouldn't do it. That's just too much to give up. Now, Christian Watson in a second-round pick? Maybe. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, or Jayden Reed? No, that's too much. Not two of those guys. Definitely not Jayden Reed. How do we know Jayden Reed's not better than CeeDee Lamb? He was only a rookie last year. Like CeeDee Lamb, again, there was questions, is he a number one until last year? And now he's playing on a contract year, so of course he's balling out. I wouldn't do it. What about you?
Okay, so my problem with this is having to pay him and Jordan Love. I do not want to be in another situation where we're paying max money for a quarterback and max money for a wide receiver. I just think it hampers where you spend the rest of your money. you have a really good left tackle. If you spend money there, now you have no money to spend on the defensive side of the football because 3 of your guys are getting paid a lot of money. That's what happened the last time. Rodgers, Devontae, and Bakhtiari. I want to be able to spend money on a really good cornerback. I want to be able to spend money on a really good pass rusher to go along with my quarterback and my left tackle. Now, in this instance, you're not paying your left tackle anything. It's Rasheed Walker. But in the future, you're probably going to end up paying your left tackle. So my issue and my hang up is the money. I would definitely do the deal. If it's Dobbs, Jaden Reed, and a second for CeeDee Lamb, I would if their money wasn't a thing. Because then all of a sudden it's Wicks, it's Lamb, and it's Watson. I feel okay with that. With both of my tight ends, I still have Malik Heath. I still have Bo Melton. I mean, they are so deep at wide receiver. The scary thing is you could make that deal and still look at Watson, Lamb, and Dontavian Wicks and still feel really, really good about your wide receiving core. And more than likely, if you went around the National Football League and said, who are the best wide receiving cores in the National Football League, I would bet you the Green Bay Packers, with the addition of CeeDee Lamb, because he's more of a proven commodity than Jaden Reed or Romeo Dobbs, would probably be considered one of the best in the league. And then what do? So you're going to roll coverage to CeeDee Lamb and leave Christian Watson one-on-one? I feel good about that. You're going to try to take away both and leave Dontavian Wicks one-on-one? Wicks showed last year that he very well may end up being the number one wide receiver on this team before all is said and done. But my hiccup at the end of the day with all of this still is the money. And that is why I like this wide receiving core where you're not going to have to pay him. And when Christian Watson comes up, if he demands a huge salary, you can move on from Christian Watson and still be okay, Ryan. And we always talk about in Green Bay about drafting quarterbacks every year. That was a Ron Wolf thing. I'm going to draft a quarterback every year. You should be doing the same thing with wide receivers at this point, Ryan. They should be adding wide receivers every year in the draft, at least one, so you never get in a situation where you have to pay somebody a ton of money.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, dude, it's like, if they did it, I wouldn't complain. I don't think that they would do it. I do think that it's quite a bit to give up. Maybe the offense is more powerful, but also, I mean, if Christian Watson, like, I still don't know if I trust him to stay healthy, even for 10 games this season.
Agreed.
I know he's specialists and they're trying to figure some stuff out, but like, prove it to me for 1 year that you could stay healthy. But for sure, like Wicks, then Bo Melton could be that guy. We do like the tight ends. Running backs are going to catch passes too. We know that. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like I would be like, oh my God, what the hell are they doing? But if they don't get this one done, if they don't do this one, I'm fine with it. Now, if we are talking like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, I'm giving up everything.
Really?
I think CeeDee Lamb's like second tier. Yeah, Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the league. I would give up Dobbs, Wicks, Clifford, anything. And then probably Jamar Chase too. Yeah. But CeeDee Lamb's not on that level. He's good though. He's really good.
What about T. Higgins?
Nah, I wouldn't give up all that. I'd give up a second round pick for T. Higgins. I think that's why the T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal, man. I mean, sure, you want to go all in one more year and you could use the franchise tag, but I think they thought that there was going to be a bigger market, just like Brandon Ayuk. You know, I mean, at most these teams are only going to offer like a second, like Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins. These are really good second tier wide receivers. I think you're only giving up like a first round pick or multiple players or multiple firsts for a guy like a Justin Jefferson. You know, that like Devontae, probably not on that level anymore just because of age. But yeah, Cooper Kupp because of age. Tyreek Hill still probably commands a couple first round picks, even at his age.
He's been around a long time too.
Yeah, but maybe even not him anymore, though, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I just think it's hard to give up multiple ones for a wide receiver. I really struggle with that. Quarterbacks, fine. I get quarterbacks. If we're talking about a Hall of Fame pass rusher, I think I can get down with a Hall of Fame pass rusher. But I don't think I can get there for any wide receiver in the National Football League, giving up multiple ones at the end of the day. Take a quick time. I'll come back on the other side. Warren Sharp put out a stat last week. TD rate in goal-to-goal situations last year. And the Green Bay number will blow your socks off if you haven't heard it or seen it. The question is really, is it even sustainable going forward? Or is it just one of those lucky type years that the Packers kind of lucked into at the end of the day? Is that where the regression kind of sets in for the Packers, where, you know, they have a really good quarterback, but they don't have a ton of weapons? Or is it just one of those lucky type years that the Packers kind of lucked into at the end of the day? Is that where the regression kind of sets in for the Packers, where, you know, they have a really good quarterback, but they don't have a ton of weapons? Or is it just one of those lucky type years that the Packers kind of lucked into at the end of the day? Is that where the regression kind of sets in for the Packers, where, you know, they have a really good quarterback, but they don't have a ton of weapons? Or is it just one of those lucky type years that the Packers kind of lucked into at the end of the day? Is that where the regression kind of sets in for the Packers, where, you know, they have a really good quarterback, but they don't have a ton of weapons? Or is it just one of those lucky type years that the Packers kind of lucked into at the end of the day? Is that where the regression kind of sets in for the Packers, where, you know, they have a really good quarterback, but they don't have a ton of Because of it, it's going to cost them points maybe at the end. We'll talk about that next. Curd and Long, download it on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app, check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Chief Sparky Fifer, Ryan Horvat with you. Back on Curd and Long, Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Wisconsin Sports Daily, weekday afternoons, 2 to 5 Central on 1250 AM The Fan. Also, you can check us out on your Odyssey app. You can stream us live there. Check out Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight, along with Trista Crick and Nick Ashu on the BetQL Radio Network. Also, can check them out on the Odyssey app if you don't have a BetQL radio station located in your town or near you. Highly entertaining. They give you some in-game advice, some advice on the West Coast games, give you some advice on some futures. Always a fun time with those three. Okay, a stat out from Warren Sharp of Sharp Football. He is a numbers guy, has been a numbers guy for 100 years. TD rate and goal to go last year. Second in the National Football League. 83%. That's a pretty good rate, right? 83%. San Francisco, Cleveland, New England, Washington, Arizona, 83% of the time scored a touchdown and goal to go last year. 82%. The Bears, the Bills, the Bengals, the Rams, 79, the Ravens, 78, the Lions, 77. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, 74% of the time they scored a touchdown. The Green Bay Packers, 95% of the time. It is 12% more than what happened with the second place teams of the Niners, Browns, Patriots, Commanders, and Cardinals. That is an unbelievable stat in 2023. To take it to the other side, that there hasn't been a higher touchdown rate since at least 1999, said Warren Sharp. The Falcons, 48% of the time in goal to go touchdown rate in 2023 was the worst since 2019. Not since the Doug Marrone, Gardner Minshew-led Jaguars has a team converted touchdowns at a worse rate than the Falcons did last year in 23. My question for you is, first off, why do you think they were so good in those situations?
It's a really good question. LaFleur, maybe? I don't know. Why do you think?
Well, I think it definitely has to do with LaFleur to a certain degree, because he's the one making those play calls down in that situation. The other thing is the ability to run the football a little bit when you have to in those situations, even though you were besieged by injuries with Jones. But Dillon being that battering ram down there probably helped a little bit. And because you had tight ends that were somewhat of a threat as well, probably helped a little bit too, with Tucker Kraft doing something down there. But I think a majority that goes to Matt LaFleur in those situations, being able to make the right play call against the right defense and being able to score. The question now is it sustainable? I tend to lead to no, it's probably not sustainable that you're going to convert at that rate in 2024, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that that's not sustainable. I completely agree. But yeah, I guess there's a lot that goes into it. I'd say LaFleur, the play calling, the offensive line, even after losing David Bakhtiari, week one was still pretty good. You know, the tight ends, the two tight end sets that you can run. You have tight ends that have different skill sets. The run game was pretty good. I mean, you know, even A.J. Dillon, after I crushed him the first half of the season, started running a little bit harder before he got banged up, you know. It's probably why he's still on this roster, and you could trust him in pass pro, and you're about to pay Jordan Love a bunch of money. But yeah, I don't know if that's sustainable, but as long as you're top 4, top 5, you know, you're not down there with Atlanta in the 40s, which is just insane, man, with all that talent they have on the offensive side of the ball. I still think that they'll be pretty good. You know, I really do. But this actually, I don't think this is sustainable, but I do think, man, like the offense should be much better. I mean, you know, like all the nerd stats could be even better, because LaFleur's play calling should be even better now that he has full trust in Jordan Love, now that Jordan Love fully grasps the offense. Because remember, year one, even though they went to the NFC Championship game with LaFleur, they drafted Jordan Love because Rodgers' numbers were down. So now imagine if he takes that year 2 LaFleur leap and then kind of brings in his package too, where you're still running the LaFleur offense, but you could call more checks at the line of scrimmage. Because I bet you Jordan Love's going to have a lot more freedom this year and the next year and the year after. You know, if you learn everything from Aaron Rodgers, you're going to want to start doing some of your own stuff too. The smarter you get, the higher your football IQ gets. So yeah, I don't think this is sustainable. I was actually kind of shocked to see that. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea. I was blown away. But now, how about this? Red zone scoring possession, a percentage, TD only, right? So the percentage of times you score a touchdown when you get into the red zone. Number one, the Niners, 68% of the time in 2023. The Lions, 66.67%. Miami, 65.52%. All three of those teams, very good last year, right? Even though maybe it didn't translate for Miami in the playoffs. The Green Bay Packers were 17th in the NFL, right behind the Houston Texans. 53.42% of the time only did they score a touchdown when they were in the red zone. That's better than the 51.85% of the time that they scored in 2022. But here, I'll blow your socks off even more. Do you want to know why they were only 53% of the time? Because they
were barely ever in the red zone.
Because they sucked at home in the red zone.
Oh.
On the road, they were 58.14% of the time scoring touchdowns. At home last year, only 46% of the time did they score touchdowns in the red zone, Ryan. Only 46% of the time. That's horrible. I mean, my God, the Bears were 57% in the red zone. They were 15th in the National Football League last year. If you look at the good teams, the playoff teams, the Packers, the only team worse than the Packers that obviously was really good, the Kansas City Chiefs were only 51% in the red zone last year in converting touchdowns, Ryan, with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback only 51% of the time.
Yeah, it's the toughest place to score, man. And like, you know why San Francisco's number one? Because they have Christian McCaffrey and they have Deebo Samuel, right? So there's a jet sweep with Deebo. There's giving the ball to the best running back in the league and having him run right behind Trent Williams. They also use a fullback in Kyle Juszczyk, who's pretty damn good. Brock Purdy doesn't really turn the ball over. You have Brandon Ayuk in the back of the end zone. You have George Kittle. You know, Green Bay's offense was really young. I would expect this is the number I would want improvement here, unless they're just hitting explosives all season long. And, you know, and that's what kind of Kansas City can do. But, yeah, I would expect that to improve, man. I would expect if you think the run game is going to be better. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I didn't love the Josh Jacobs move like everybody else did. I think Aaron Jones is still a better back than Josh Jacobs. I hope
Marshawn Lloyd is good, though.
He's awesome. I don't know that he could play on passing downs yet because we can't have Jordan Love die. And
agreed. I agree with you. The Niners, though, 68%. Do you know what they were in 2022? 52.7% only in the red zone. They made a 16% jump from 22 to 23. Now, again, home and away split.
The second half of the season, remember that year?
Correct, yes. Home, 71%. They're scoring at home in the red zone. On the road, they scored 64% of the time. I'll give you another one. How about the Lions? They're in second. They scored 74% of the time at home in the red zone. They scored a touchdown. On the road, only 58% of the time on the road. That's a huge split. But that goes to the theory of get the Lions out of that dome, get them outside playing on turf or in a different situation. That team changes, right?
Oh, hell yeah. Like Jared Goff's home road splits are already really dramatic, but look at Jared Goff's like splits, like when he's playing with play action compared to not playing with play action, using play action, meaning like if he has a really strong run game and they're able to rip you up with play action, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. But if it's just him dropping back and he doesn't have a whole lot of time, he's not very good, Jared Goff. The numbers. And then the cold weather stuff outside of a dome. He's like a bottom 10 quarterback in the league when he's outside and it's under 40 degrees, 50 degrees. So, yeah, they're a completely different team. But, man, they're scary. That offense is in the red zone because you have David Montgomery and you have Jahmyr Gibbs. See, this is why I'm talking about like Jordan Love using his legs a little bit more and more read option stuff, because then I think that these numbers improve. If he's using his legs and that's another guy and another threat on the field that you have to worry about, that opens up somebody. I think that they'll improve here, though.
Yeah, I think they will as well. And the other thing about the Lions you didn't bring up is Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator. Right. That also is a big thing. Everybody thought he was going to leave to become a head coach somewhere else. And instead, Ben Johnson goes, nah, maybe I'll stay. And then did you see what he came out and said? Pretty much said that a lot of those jobs, I would have been out of job within 3 years. So what's the point of going to that situation? So it sounds like he's waiting for the perfect situation to leave for instead of just a situation to leave for. And I think, if we're being honest, a lot of guys just take the first job offered to them because, again, there's only 32 jobs, Ryan. If you say no to that job, there's no guarantee your star will ever be high enough to land another job in the NFL as a head coach. Sherm Lewis never got a head coaching position, and he was an offensive coordinator for how many years in Green Bay?
Yeah. Hell, like Eric Bieniemy is at UCLA this year after 1 year in Washington. I mean, I agree. That's why I was actually like, I was thinking that I was going to write the Lions off this year if Ben Johnson was going to get a head coaching gig, but he didn't. He's coming back. But yeah, he's going to have another big year if he wants to get the same offers, same looks he was getting this year. But who knows, man? Maybe he gets that perfect job.
He is Ryan Horvat. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Check him out on the BetQL Radio Network, host of BetMGM Tonight. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Check me out weekday afternoons, Wisconsin Sports Daily, talking Packers, Brewers, Bucks, Badgers, all that fun stuff on 1250 AM. The Fan. You can also stream us on your Odyssey app. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Toodle.